Warriors, midweek, beginning of July, and I have a lot to share with you. I just got back from my radio program here in New York, WVOX. You can listen across the country, actually across the world, WVOX.com. I prefer the app, WVOX app. It is crystal clear, and that is what warriors all across the country and the universe are reporting to me, that it sounds like the program is coming from right next door. Warriors, I have many teachers all of a sudden contacting me that kids showing up to kindergarten in the past past year, I should say, cannot hold a pencil, cannot hold a ball. The most shocking part, they don't know what to do with a ball. Kindergartners, so what is that, warriors? That is around age 5, correct? They also cannot track. So when they're reading, they can't, go along. It's all because of the internet. And you can't blame the kids because this is the world they are growing up in 2022, right? This has been going on certainly the last decade, and certainly during COVID when everybody was forced online for schoolwork, for jobs, for socialization more than ever. But how shocking is that? And by coincidence, it's all of a sudden I've had several teachers contact me. The kids are coming to school totally unprepared. They don't have any sort of, now granted, they're kindergarten, 5 years old, after they can't hold a pencil. The teachers are trying to teach them how to grasp it, how to hold it, how to move it, how to slide it, how to form something with the pencil point. They can't do it. How about a ball? Wouldn't the natural physical activity be you just know how to throw it, but they can't grasp it. They don't understand. Warriors, there was a youth mental health crisis. I don't have to review the recent shooting that so sadly happened here in Chicago, in our country, a couple of days ago on July 4th. I think what we need to be looking at is something I have been talking about, but I want to expand on a little bit right now. And that is the youth mental health crisis. Bad people are bad people, right? So many kids are isolated. So many kids are vulnerable. So many kids are seeking attention. And now they're jumping on the bandwagon and doing these shootings that we've never really seen before. We've seen over the last couple of decades, right? Not when I was a kid. Certainly the horror of nice town, morning 4th of July parade, lots of families, kids, grandparents. The horror. And then later in the evening, a shooting in Philadelphia during the fireworks. I am convinced they want just to ruin everything. But we have to look at this. When I say they, I should explain that a little more. Don't you feel it constricting? Don't you feel it? They don't want, I guess our government would be the they. This, post-COVID environment very much seems to me they don't want you leaving the home. They don't want you leaving your immediate vicinity. They don't want the kids out and about in the yard. They want everybody stay put. And these incidents will scare people and indeed feed that where people will just not go out. But let's get back to the youth mental health crisis that, if you listen to me, listen to the warriors, has been going on. Now, I will say December 7th, 2021, and I have mentioned it many, many times, talked about it. Media doesn't. Our U.S. Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek H. Murthy, put out what he coined a rare advisory, what I coined a report, because it was 53 pages long, about the mental health of our kids before COVID and since COVID. And this came out again December 7th. Oh, right. We have been feeding our kids so many drugs. Just do some reading, do some research, warriors. Most of these shootings, most of these young men, for the most part, actually all young men that I'm thinking of, have been on some kind of Prozac, some kind of something, right? I mean, I think that is, not that I think, that is what we should be addressing, the youth mental health crisis in our country. When reports come in from emergency rooms around our country that 40% of the cases of children under 18, so 17 and under, come into the emergency rooms for suicide attempts, suicide ideation, which is uncontrollably talking about suicide, saying you're going to do self-harm, when 40% warriors of those kids are 11 and under. And remember, stats are it's always higher. That's what we know about. We have a shocking youth mental health crisis. What's going on here? Nobody's talking about the kids. I had somebody just write to me. He was calling me a couple of times during the day. I've been on the run since early this morning. This is later in the afternoon. This is actually early evening when I'm recording this. And I didn't have time to chit chat on the phone. And I would write text messages. I'm in a meeting. It's because I like to address people. It's a thing to do. And the next was I'm on my way to another meeting. The next was when they called again. I'm in the studio doing the radio program during the commercial break. And I wrote back, I'm working 24/7 to help families and children. It's nonstop. And the person wrote back, ha, 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 ha. And that is the reaction from most people. They're not listening. Our government certainly isn't listening. Look what's happening at the border. If you took everything away from the border, let me remind you of two things. Just the amount of drugs flowing over the border into each and every one of our communities, right? Drug trafficking. This belongs to all of us, all of these harms. This is a national security risk. This is feeding into the mental health of our youth. On top of it, something because we've had a little talk lately in the media about the fentanyl flowing over, the sex trafficking. Once in a while I hear somebody say, Fox News or something, sex trafficking, human trafficking. That's as far as they go. Nobody's talking about the horrors on the border, what's really happening to girls, children, women, and there's some men too, primarily girls and women. Nobody's talking about where they go once they get here. Why is it since January we have about 130,000 right now, unaccompanied minors that have come over the border? This is a national crisis. Why aren't we talking about that? And on top of it, my guest today, I don't know how I was just reading the other day online and doing some research, and all of a sudden this little book cover popped up in front of me called Finding Sierra, a little book with a little black girl on the cover. And I said, oh, great, a resource perhaps, Finding Sierra. It makes me think she's missing. Let me see what this book is about. Maybe it's something I can use with the warriors, a teaching tool, a resource to recommend to all of you. And I clicked on the cover, and lo and behold, the name Derrica Wilson came up as the author. And I start reading about her. And she and her sister-in-law, Natalie Wilson, formed in 2008 the Black and Missing Foundation to put a lens on children of color, people of color, missing, and how the national media will not talk about it. There's a little talk about it. Not a lot. It's something, I'm obviously white and blonde and blue-eyed, but I've been asking this question over the last few years, even pre-COVID. One of my first meetings in Washington was with a national group, and I went to their headquarters. I asked a couple of questions, and I said things like, is this stat true? Is this statistic true? Is this? It was a couple of years ago. I'm much smarter now, warriors, I assure you. And I asked about, is this correct about, Black children missing so many more than white children? An emphasis put on finding the white children, right? Despite Black people being 13% of the population, they represent It varies, but they represent well over 40% of all sex trafficking victims. Some studies even recommend, not recommend, but report, up to 60%. 1% is too much. So I'm looking at Derrica Wilson and her sister-in-law, Natalie Wilson. Now, Derrica spent over 2 decades as a law enforcement officer in Virginia. She worked with DARE, if you're familiar with that, the drug programs in communities. She worked with a gang program in communities, first Black woman in Fall, Virginia, police officer. A lot of firsts. She's seen it all. And her sister-in-law, Natalie, worked in PR media. And they came together and they didn't understand why media wouldn't cover, like I always talk about. Forget even the color for a minute, missing kids. More about it. Why aren't we out in the streets screaming about it? When 2,300 children, warriors, let me repeat, 2,300 children go missing each and every day in the United States. Now that is sex trafficking, that is kidnappings, that's runaways, that's family problems, that's all kinds of things. 2,300 children, do the math. And on top of this, all these Black children, it is heartbreaking. So I'm doing my research and I'm like, oh, these two sisters-in-law, they formed the Black and Missing Foundation. Let me look at this. Why isn't there more emphasis? Sure, they've been on a lot of great programs, and they were focused and featured last November on HBO Max, a 4-part documentary series narrated by Soledad O'Brien, journalist and activist. But I didn't even know about this, okay? And I pretty much know everything. But I was unaware of this. And I actually watched the series in the last 2 days. And I urge all of you, if you have HBO Max, to watch this 4-part documentary series, Black and Missing. Get a feel for it. These children belong to all of us. And I talked to them today on my radio program. With all of our talk, let's be honest, warriors, with all of our talk in the last couple of years, race, Black Lives Matter, putting diversity forth. And I asked them today, and I kept saying, and I don't understand. And I was very blunt. I'm like, I'm blonde and blue-eyed. But I've wanted to know why nobody's looking for the Black children or children of color, whatever you prefer to say. And I said, is it really racism? Is it really explained? Derrica, you were a law enforcement officer for over 2 decades. And she explained, at this time, the training was scarce for missing kids. The training was 1.5 to 2 hours. I call that checking off boxes. Okay. The usual, which I hear all the time, lack of resources, which really irks me, warriors, because we are giving so much money away to foreign countries and not right here in our own backyards, our own communities. And furthermore, when I just heard that the state of California, that hotbed of a mess out there, okay, will be paying the healthcare costs for all illegals, because Joe Biden said, come on over, because it is being reported when people are questioned at the border. Why are you here? The common answer, oh, President Biden said, come on over, come on here. We have food for you. We have money for you. We have homes for you. That's what they're telling us. And warriors, they're just not, poor people from Mexico looking for a better life. Yes, they are, but there's also it is reported up to 100, and I think we're up to 180 countries have crossed the border, including China and Russia, everywhere, African countries. So there's money for that. There's not money to find our missing kids and investigate. I'm removing color of this whole thing for a minute. And on top of it, with all of this diversity talk and Black Lives Matter, there's nothing for the missing Black children and it's true, because they've been described to me in different meetings. Well, they're throwaway kids. Well, they're runaways. Well, those girls are promiscuous. Well, I'm sorry, warriors, each and every child is a precious human being. I don't care how you want to look at it. I am shocked. I am saddened that our country, I love our country. I don't like our government, but I love our country, is not taking care of our children. There is a war on for our children. So right now, what are a couple of take actions you can help with? Certainly, if you have HBO Max, look for the 4-part documentary series, Black and Missing. Please look for the two sisters, Derica and Natalie Wilson. They deserve attention. They are fighting hard. They will now come into the Warriors fold. I will be helping them more. These are all of our, these children belong to all of us. And Derica wrote Finding Sierra, a beautiful book. And I just got home from the radio program. She wrote me, I was reading it on the way home. She is donating to me several copies, signed copies of Finding Sierra. So if you would like, and it's a book you can read with your children. And I'll put more of that at Lynn's Warriors, on Twitter and Facebook to describe it a little better. But if you would like a free copy, I will be happy to mail it to you. Please just write to me, lynn@lynswarriors.org. I've made it very simple for everybody. Everything's Lynn's Warriors, lynn@lynswarriors.org. And I will get you a copy of Finding Sierra, a book you can sit down with your children and read about internet safety, just about privacy. July, my new newsletter went out today. Okay, please sign up for it. I want to give you as much free information as I can possibly arm you with, because you're not hearing it in the media. And I don't have on the radio program. The good news is it's loaded down with commercials because people want to advertise on the Warriors, which is great, right? On the second hand, it cuts down on my talking because I have to give up airtime, but that's good news, right? People want to get on board with an interesting, a great program. That is the Warriors. So you've got to do the alternate things. You've got to go to lynnswarriors.org, scroll down on the right side, sign up for the newsletter. It says e-newsletter. Just put your email in there. There you go. I usually send it out on a Wednesday. Resend it to you warriors who have not opened it a couple of days later to give you a chance. And always check your spam, everybody, because interestingly enough, a lot of these newsletters go to spam, people report to me. Makes one go, Lots of good information and updates and take actions. The other thing you can do is go to the Warriors YouTube channel, which obviously you're here now because I'm recording a video. I want to build it out. I have a couple of guests lined up for the month of July, so I can have some more in-depth interviews and spread the word about the YouTube channel, right? Because we want to create warriors out of each and every one of you, because it's 2022. And if we don't do it, who will? But the newsletter today was focused on the month of July is Make a Difference to a Child Month. It started in 2006 by a child advocate working with orphanages and group homes, a man named Kim Ratz, R-A-T-Z. And you can go to kimratz.com. And that was to deal with, we can all make a difference in a child's life, whether we volunteer, whether we donate some money, whether we mentor somebody, whether we just spend time with a child. It has since included, the focus then was for not so much parents, but for teachers, guidance counselors, people running group homes. Now, in 2022, the focus is on all children make a difference because of the advent of the internet and proliferation and escalation of all that is going on around us. All children need to be included in July as Make a Difference to a Child Month. So that is, again, very simple. Spend time together. Listen. Communicate. Take a walk. Plant a plant. Cook a meal together. Tell your child, set the table. You're a grandparent, young child, read a book together. There's countless millions of ideas free. The next thing we want to focus on is communication. I can't stress this enough. I say it, I think I say every single day. We must realize the dangers of the internet. June was Internet Safety Month. Every day, every hour, every minute needs to be internet safety, everything. You must talk to your children about what platforms they're on, what apps they're on, what games they're playing, who they're talking to. They cannot be talking to strangers, and most of the kids are. Remember, the kids are savvy. They can get around all this stuff. The strangers are not nice. Wherever the kids are, so are the predators. And with this escalation and with law enforcement, got their minds on other things right now, warriors. It's certainly not this. We have to take action. We have to step up. We have to create change, and we can do it. Because remember, community creates change. We start in our own homes and communities. But the thing I want you to know, no matter what you think about the government right now, I don't care how tired you are, I urge you, go to house.gov, senate.gov, find out who represents you. It will give you an email. You write them. I have some people that write every single day, 7 days, no exceptions. And you say things. What are you doing about child predation online? What are you doing about drugs on the border? 1 sentence, 2 sentences, that's it. Because they do keep numbers. They do keep records. And sure, you might get that automatic return email saying, thank you, we're very busy, and this will be addressed in the near future. Thank you. But I know when they get enough people on the subject matter, they must address it. That number stands around 10 people talking about the same thing, and they'll start addressing it. Remember, with no accountability on any of these issues, how can we even make a dent? The goal is we are not, let us be realistic, warriors, we are not going to end human trafficking. We are not going to end sexual exploitation. We are not going to end, at least in my lifetime and yours, what is happening. But we sure as, this is a family program, I almost said a word I usually don't say, but we sure as heck can educate, engage, empower ourselves and our children, and be realistic. We can talk, we can communicate. This is the way it is. These are the take actions. Know what your kids are doing. Just like you get up, you brush your teeth, you make your bed. Well, hopefully you do. Go to work, go to school, whatever you're doing. You have to make internet safety, I'm begging you, and privacy issues part of your day. And I know I'm asking you to do, everybody right now is so burdened and overwhelmed and hanging on, and I don't blame you. But this is about our babies. This is about our children. So let me wrap this up with your take action, house.gov, senate.gov, signing up for the Warriors newsletter, linswarriors.org, always sharing these videos on your social media platforms. I find that actually hard to say, like social media platforms, because the social media has turned into anti-social media, but we'll call it social media platforms. Spread education, talk to friends. Over the 4th of July, I was at a very small dinner party. New York people, considered cultured, considered smart. They knew nothing of what I speak, warriors. They had not a clue about internet dangers. Take action. Because I'll tell you, if something happens to your child or grandchild or a close family member, then you're going to want to take action. And then it's too late. Have resources available. Starting July 16th, we have a national prevention lifeline for suicide prevention. That is so sad, but so necessary. That will be 988. Like we have 911 for emergencies, beginning July 16th, 988. It will address anybody in crisis, but you can use 988 just to ask questions, you're scared, right? You don't know with your child. Call them. They'll help anybody in crisis. Ask the questions. The smartest people I know ask questions. And I want all of you to know about this crisis with our youth. the mental health of our youth. Shootings all around us. Can you imagine? We're horrified what the kids must feel like. And then we have the copycats. Then we have the kids being over medicated on drugs. Then something I was listening to in the car on the way back, another program, and he was saying and pointing out, and so rightfully so, this show presented by Pfizer, that show presented by Pfizer, this show. And I thought, my goodness, they'll never talk. Of course, that's the point of this whole thing. They'll never talk about our children and the drugs. It's such a moneymaker. We have to start intervening. These are our babies. These are the future Americans, when they grow up. And we have to fight them and be warriors. And remember, if you would like a copy of Finding Sierra, a book you can read with your children about internet safety, about sexual exploitation, breaks it down for you by author Derrica Wilson, former law enforcement officer from Virginia, now partners with her sister-in-law, Natalie Wilson, Black and Missing Foundation. And that website is BAMFI.org. I call it BAMFI, BAMFI.org. Go look at it. See if you can volunteer. See if you can donate. If you can't do anything, I understand money's tight. Educate yourself. Circulate a picture of a missing child. Black and Missing Foundation, missingkids.org. Use the internet for good. Because remember, warriors, it's 2022. There is a war on for our children.